Yeah, the news is true, folks.
Jake Paul's career just took a nosedive after a humiliating defeat by Mike Tyson. Up until now, we've tolerated his trash talk and constant need for attention, but challenging Tyson was a step too far. This isn't just another loss, it's the moment his career hit a dead end. Instead of sticking to fighters in his age group like Ryan Garcia or Devin Haney, Jake went after the legends Tyson, Canelo Alvarez, and more. Now, he's facing the harsh reality of biting off more than he can chew. When you swim with sharks, don't be surprised if you get eaten. Jake Paul, the YouTube star turned controversial boxer, thought he could do whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted until reality hit hard. It all unfolded while Jake was lounging in his private penthouse, soaking up the sun and likely feeling invincible. Little did he know, the law was closing in fast. The police weren't waiting for him to casually return from his paradise. Instead, they moved in swiftly, cutting through the waves like sharks zeroing in on their prey.
I don't have a warning from Mike. I think he knows that I'm not.
Jake's illusion of being untouchable shattered as the long arm of the law reached out, pulling him from his temporary slice of luxury. When the American police are involved, there's no escape. It's almost laughable that Jake Paul thought he could outrun them. In this country, even the dead can't dodge the law, let alone someone like Jake. As the authorities closed in, the party atmosphere vanished, music, laughter and carefree vibes replaced by the harsh reality of what Jake was about to face. This was no minor incident, it was serious, and Jake realized it too late. His arrest wasn't just about breaking the law, it was a public spectacle, signaling the downfall of his larger-than-life persona. For years, Jake seemed untouchable, with controversies only boosting his fame. But this time, things were different. He wasn't in control of the narrative anymore, and it was clear this moment marked the beginning of a steep fall from grace. This time, Jake Paul found himself on the other side of the narrative, no longer the one in control, but the one being chased and taken down. The image of him being pulled out of the water, surrounded by police, starkly
We also had Sebastian Maniscalco sharing insights, but when he joked about Tyson,
contrasted with the invincible, untouchable figure he'd worked so hard to portray. This was the moment his facade cracked, revealing a man who could no longer dodge the consequences of his actions. So what did Jake Paul do to cause such a stir? Let's cut to the chase. He breached a contract, and not just any contract. This was the golden ticket, his highly anticipated fight with none other than Mike Tyson. Yes, the Mike Tyson, whose name alone sends shivers down the spines of even the toughest fighters. Instead of keeping his word, Jake got tangled in a mess of rumors, suggesting he might cancel the fight altogether. Why? Because Tyson's demands were apparently too much for our YouTube star turned boxer to handle. Tyson, known for his fierce reputation, wasn't making things easy for Jake. Negotiations had turned tense, and Jake found himself struggling to keep up with the demands of a fighter far beyond his league. Mike Tyson doesn't sugarcoat things. This is the same guy who once bit off an opponent's ear. He doesn't mess around. Tyson made it clear the fight was going to be on his terms, and his terms alone. That meant only rules, no technicalities, no referee stepping in to save the day. The only way this fight would end was with one of them flat on the canvas, pure and unfiltered boxing mayhem. But that's not all.
For him, I think he's a sorry, miserable, insecure, unhappy person.
He's not.
Tyson also insisted on random drug tests, leaving nothing to chance. He wanted the fight clean and fair, with no excuses and no funny business. This demand came after UFC President Dana White publicly accused Jake Paul of using steroids, a claim that rocked the sports world. White, a man with deep insight into the fight game, didn't make those accusations lightly. His words carried significant weight, and Tyson wasn't about to ignore them. He wanted to ensure the fight's integrity, putting even more pressure on Jake Paul. Tyson was making it clear to the world that he took the steroid accusations seriously and wasn't about to let Jake Paul get away with anything. The introduction of random drug tests added a new layer of pressure on Jake, one he hadn't expected. This wasn't just about facing Tyson in the ring, it was about proving to the world that he was clean, that his wins were legitimate, and that he wasn't relying on anything but his own skill. For Jake Paul, this fight wasn't just another notch on his record, it was the ultimate test. The moment to prove whether all his talk and swagger had any real substance. But with Tyson's demands hanging over him, Jake's confidence started to crack under the weight of reality. The pressure mounted, and like an egg under stress, cracks began to show. Rumors started swirling. Could Jake Paul actually back out of the fight? The fearless internet sensation, afraid of a co-only rule. Say it ain't so. But as the rumors spread, it became clear this wasn't just about legal issues or a contract breach. It was about something much bigger: Jake Paul's fear of facing Tyson on a level playing field. For years, Jake had built an image of being untouchable, the guy who could take on anyone and walk away unscathed. But now that image was crumbling. The mere idea that Jake might be too scared to face Tyson was enough to make everyone, fans, critics, and more, start questioning everything they believed about him. Jake Paul's reputation is taking a hit like never before. Until now, he's navigated every controversy with a mix of boldness and slick PR moves. But this was supposed to be his crowning moment, the fight where he'd finally step into the ring with a true legend and prove he was more than just a loudmouth with a YouTube channel. Instead, it's becoming the moment where everything unravels. The image he worked so hard to create is slipping away. In a desperate attempt to control the fallout, Jake's shifting gears, abandoning his usual tough guy persona to play the victim card. He's now claiming that all the lawsuits against him are just bogus. But fans and critics alike are starting to question if Jake's really in control, or if he's finally in over his head. They're suing me for something I didn't do. Like, on God, it's just the most thing. And I literally had to pay them a lot of money for no reason, Jake Paul claims. A far cry from the Jake who used to flaunt his wealth and success at every chance. His financial troubles now seem all too real. That breach of contract? It comes with a fine so massive it's left him reeling. We're not talking pocket change here. The rumored amount is so astronomical that even Jake, with all his millions, is struggling to process it. Word on the street is that he may have to dip into his family's wealth just to cover it. For a guy who's always flaunted his riches as proof of his success, this marks a major blow to his untouchable persona. But this reality check has got to sting, and the financial hit isn't just about money, it's about Jake's pride. The man who's always acted like he had more money than he knew what to do with is now facing the very real possibility of losing it all. The irony is almost too much. Jake, who once used his fortune as a shield, is now realizing that even his considerable bank account might not be enough to bail him out of this mess. You've got to wonder if some of those tears are less about the legal trouble and more about watching his empire start to crumble. Jake's attempt to win sympathy is a high-risk move. In boxing, toughness and invulnerability are the currency of the realm, and showing weakness can be a career killer. Fans who once cheered him on might now start to see him as just another pampered celebrity who couldn't handle the heat. His critics, they're already having a field day, using this situation as proof that Jake Paul was never the real deal, just a poser who got in over his head. For a guy who's built his brand on confidence and bravado, this moment of vulnerability could be devastating.